humans get distracted and have priorities change. So as marketers, we need to account for that. And I think that's where the engagement funnel comes into play, right? You see them go down in terms of engagement and intent, and you're like, okay, great. We're going to put them on like the slow drip nurture program and we'll keep them warm and engaged. And then next thing you know, they're scoring up, their intent scores high, and you're like, okay, let's go. Let's give them the more frequent drip. Let's invite them to a webinar. Let's get them more engaged. And it might be that moment where the opportunity comes, but it's our job to keep them coming back through and making sure they don't forget about us. I'm Director of Marketing Operations at Brightly and support our marketing organization with all things related to both, technology and process, and really work to make sure we're working effectively and efficiently. And prior to joining Brightly, I worked as a consultant in the Salesforce space and with many marketing automation tools and businesses of a variety of different sizes, from small mom and pop startups to big enterprise companies, and really just love the world of operations and making everyone successful with the tools they have, because we all know you can't be a great marketer without great tools that work really well. Yeah, it starts when your deal size is getting larger, right? And you're starting to sell to buying teams rather than individual people. So at that point, it becomes more about how do we usher all of these people along and give all of the different personas and titles and engaged buyers the information they need. What your CMO who's buying a tool needs is different than what the MarOps person is looking at, right? So we need to serve them the right type of content, but we also need to make sure they're all engaged and they're involved in the process and they're buying in. And so it starts with that, right? It's not just a single buyer buying your product anymore. It's a buying team. And I think that along with the deal size is a good indicator of it's time to evolve. Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to, are we targeting the right people, right? At this point, when you have buying cycles, you have a variety of different titles you're going after, you have complex segmentation, you're trying to serve up content to the different groups that you're going after. And it creates, that's a lot to manage, right? As a single marketer, it's a little bit easier when you have one target, you have one persona, one segment, and you can just continually create and serve content. Once that gets broad and buried and you're trying to hit all these different people, it gets a little complex. And so you have to really understand, where are they in their journey? Am I covering the funnel enough? Am I serving enough content? Are they getting stuck somewhere? Are they like, petering out at, the top of the funnel and creating a log jam essentially, or are we moving them through? And, what titles are we losing in the funnel, right? Like all of those questions start to come into play when you increase your segmentation and you start thinking about more buying groups. So I think that's a kind of an inflection point, right? It's not that, one or two groups we're segmenting on with one or two different key messages. It's a variety, right? It's a little bit more broad of what we're segmenting, what we're saying, and the personas we're going after. Data is king. It helps us make informed decisions. So, we're investing in those channels, and marketers, you're right, have done a great job of creating more channels and more avenues for us to go after and find prospects. But we have to know what's working. We have to know what's converting, and we have to know we're getting the ROI on our spend. I don't know one company that's like, sure, go spend as much as you want, wherever you want, and don't tell us how it's performing. Like, that's crazy. We all have to know exactly where every dollar's going and how much revenue it's bringing in the door. So, yeah, that anonymous data, that top of funnel data is really crucial, right? And it lets us know, where are we finding our ideal customers, where are we investing that's actually working for us way down the funnel, and where is it not, right? So if we don't look at the data, we're really being a little bit irresponsible as marketers. And so yeah, I think you have to start to pull all those channels together and look at them not only just by channel and investment, but you have to look at it by channel and what stage of the funnel they are in, and where does that channel play, right? Some channels play really well towards the bottom and some play really well towards the top. And you have to learn and know from the data what is working for your organization. And that's where the engagement-based funnel, right, comes into play, because it lets us see, what is engaging at the top of funnel, what's helping convert, what's helping to move those people through, just as much as it is at the bottom, right? And so becomes less about, we have a channel and we use it, and it becomes more about, we have a channel and we use it in this specific way in this specific part of our funnel, and we see this much ROI. matching your intent with what you see in your map and what you see in your other tools gives you so much visibility into, what are we doing with our leads? How are they progressing through? And you become really powerful when you can say, oh, look, I see from this tool they're doing this, and I see from that tool they're doing this. And then I can make this assumption or this observation from our data, and you can make really smart decisions. You can start to segment a little bit more. Leveraging the tools, right, with the activity almost creates more of those diverse segmentations that you need to have more of this hybrid engagement-based funnel. So you have to have the tool and tech to be able to get the data just as much as you have to have the personas and the advancement in your business to be there to make that progression. Yeah, I mean, I think we all are really familiar with scoring models, right? Some of us score better than others, and I think that's where that comes in, right? It's really easy to look at events and assign them a score and give that score that value in the funnel, right? And say, okay, if someone's doing XYZ, they're progressing through. But often that's not enough, right? We all have the example where you can be Bob the cleaner and you have a high converting form on your website, you give it a ton of points. Bob fills out the form, like, that's great. Bob just progressed, but we don't actually need a cleaner. We're great. Our office is super clean. Like, this was a dud of a lead. And look what I did. And so I think that's where you can start to think about those demographic, that firmographic data, and start to pull that in. So it's not only marrying activity and events and engagement, it's marrying it with, is this the right person for my business? Is this someone that I can actually sell my product to? And then you start to look at, okay, now they're engaging and they're scoring and they're progressing. And I think they're going to be the right person for us. And you start to move those people through. And so then you start investing better, right? You're putting your dollars for paid programs and campaigns and webinars and all of that into people who actually have a lot of potential to become customers. So you start to see your ROI go up, and you start to see people move through a little bit better because you're wasting less time on the noise and you're focusing more on, who do I need to go after? Who is actually a potential customer? So I love a scoring model. I love blending those different types of models together, whether it's behavior or firmographic or demographic. I think they all play a role, right? And then you can get really advanced even and say, okay, now I have scoring, now I have firmographic, demographic, but I also have intent too. So how can I blend the intent data and the intent scores I'm getting with that to even make it more focused and targeted? I always like to refer to B2C a little bit, or direct to consumer, right? Because like we all go and buy the jeans, right? And we go visit the website and we look around and we're like, yeah, I want those jeans. And then, we get distracted and other things come up or we're not sure and we set it aside for a while and then you kind of forget. And then, next thing, the next week you're like, oh man, I really should have ordered those jeans. I really need them. I mean, we all have that same experience. We're all humans, whether it's jeans or software, it happens, right? We all have competing priorities in our roles, and it's not linear, right? And we all have had the experience in companies where it's like, yeah, we're gonna go do this thing, and then a week later it's like, that thing, we're gonna wait on that thing, right? Like, that's just life, and that's business, and it's people, and that happens. So we see that in our funnels, right? You have people that come through and they've showed great intent and they really are excited, they're just not ready. And that's where I think marketing can play such a big role, because it's like, oh, okay, we can keep these people warm for the sales team, we can keep them engaged, we can send them reminders, we can get them back. And sometimes they do, and they come back and they open the opportunity and it goes on. It's just, we can't prescribe a journey for someone because it's what we want them to do. That doesn't work, right? We have to adapt our process and our strategies to what humans do. I think as marketers, right? Like, it's our job and it's our role to always be pushing the envelope, right? I had someone tell me years ago that, like, if you stop learning, if you stop progressing, you're just falling behind. And it's so true, right? Like, we have to, there's technology, there's, economic headwinds, there's so many things working against us every day as a marketer. So if we're not constantly looking at what are we doing, what's our data telling us, and how do we iterate and improve and do better from that, then we are going to fall behind. And that's true. And I don't know, I was like a college athlete and have been an athlete my whole life. I really like to get better and improve. So for me, it's, yeah, I love being on like the cutting edge. I love driving change. I love pushing us forward, because at the end of the day, it makes us a better business. It makes, us better marketers. And I think, it keeps us cutting edge. It keeps us growing and we all want to do better, right?